Sup Nation, it's Matty D from Cardfight Nation, and I'm here with my Pale Moon deck profile. It's a Lecuir build because it's a +4, so I like +4s. So let's get started. So you got grade 3s, you got 3 Lecuir and 2 Barking Manticore. Now, I chose Barking Manticore over, say, Robert, because Barking Manticore lets you choose one card from your hand and put it in Soul, so you don't lose triggers and whatnot. When you play Robert, you tend to lose a lot of triggers into the Soul that you just don't see anymore. And 3 Midnight Invaders, because I want to hit numbers with this deck, because you don't have Counterblast to use for like Alice or Midnight Bunny or whatever. Grade 2s, I've got 4 Crimson Beast Tamer, MVP of the deck, just because it's 11 for basically no reason. Put one in the Soul, you got 3 11k attackers for no reason at all. Got Dancing Prince of the Night Sky at 3. Most important card in any Pale Moon deck ever, because it lets you put any grade 2 or lower card in the Soul for Counterblast 1, which is nothing. That's it. 3 Jill, because Jill's a 12k attack when it's called out from the Soul. So basically, you use Lecuir's skill, or you use Trapezist, and you kind of get a 12k attacker for no reason at all. Grade 1s, you've got 2 Skull Juggler. They're important because you need some soul charging. While I'm trying to minimize the randomized soul charging, if you don't get Barking Manticore and you're forced to ride Lecuir first, you kind of need a way to get some soul happening, so you've got something to call out. 3 Null Guards, simply because you haven't got space for 4 at all. 3 of the Trapezist, so its effect is on call, you can put a card into the Soul and call a new one out. So you can use that for 2 different things. You can use it to put the cards for Lecuir into the Soul, like say you've got a Jill on the field but not in the Soul, and you've got a spare Trapezist in the Soul. You can call your Trapezist and then move Jill into the Soul, call out the Tamer, and now you've got an 11k attacker and a 12k for later. It's also good for moving dead draw triggers into the Soul to get a good attacker. I'm running 3 Glen. Glen's an interesting card. It's 7k, but when you call out its Soul, it's a 10k booster. So not as good as your generic 10ks that most decks have, but when you're using Lecuir and Trapezist and, well, just those 2 cards really, you get a free 10k booster on select turns. Got your 4 Turquoise Beast Tamer. Very important card. It's a 9k booster, so it means your Jills without their 12k can still hit 18, hitting cross rides. Also means that you can use grade 1s to attack if you've got nothing else, and it makes Midnight Invaders a 21k column, so it makes hitting all those 11ks all so easy. Okay, so grade 0s, I've got my starter, which is Girl Across the Gap. She's a good card because basically she's a free unit that turns into any unit of your choice, including Jill, which becomes 12k, Glen, which becomes 10k, or Trapezist to swap a card in and out for no reason. It's also really useful to make multiple uses of Skull Juggler if you ride it, so you can get a few extra cards in Soul. And it's just a solid starting Vanguard choice. I run 2 stand triggers, mainly for this unflip skill, just in case you go a little bit over, because in this deck you can really only use 2 Counterblast and you've got to save the other 3 for Lecuir. If you use Sky High Walker and you happen to grab one, you can move it into Soul and free up an extra Counterblast to use another copy of Dancing Princess or use your starter. I run 6 draw, just because you need to draw, and damage checking a draw trigger in this deck actually makes a huge difference, because you're a piddly 10k base no matter which card you ride. Having that extra 5k and the extra card in hand means you can actually stop attacks and you don't get trampled as easily. 4 critical triggers, because you need to crit, and if you don't put any pressure on, because you don't put any pressure on with this deck outside of the huge numbers, you need to be able to deal damage fairly quickly. So hitting those crits is always good, and then just 4 heals, because you should run heals. Yeah. Basic strategy of the deck is to get your grade 1, 2, and 3 in Soul. So you want to get a Glen on your initial ride, a Jill on your secondary ride, and a Midnight Invader or a Manticore on your 3rd ride, and move Midnight Invader to Soul. Because you've got your Dancing Princess, it's easy enough to put Crimson Beast Tamer in the Soul without wasting Crimson from your hand. You can also luck sack into getting it off the top with Skull Juggler, but that's unlikely. If you can manage to get those 3 cards in Soul, and you make it to the late game with your opponent on 4 or 5 damage, and you ride Lecuyer, you almost guarantee to win, because your opponent ends up having to guard 3 20k plus rows with usually 5 or less cards in hand. And if you can manage to pull critical triggers on that turn, it's, all the better. So using Lecuyer's Limit Break on that third turn, on that final turn, is ridiculous, because especially if they've been sacking off regards, or you intercept with everything the turn before so that you're getting a maximum plus, because you can get up to +4 out of it. Usually it's only a +3. And her becoming 19k on her own with either a turquoise or a Skull Juggler behind will give it a 26 or a 28, which hits your 11s and your 13k Vanguards for big numbers. So yeah, that's my Pale Moon deck profile. I hope you guys enjoy it, and see you next time.